This is episode 231 of the Gold Squadron podcast. I'm your host, Dio Morales, and today I'm joined by Marcel, four-eyed champion Manzano.
Yep, let me show you how that works. Boom. What you got, baby?
Very nice.
So this is the last tournament I was before the pandemic, and this was the first tournament I was in post-pandemic. What?
Nice. For those of you listening, Marcel placed two of the metal focus tokens from the store championship kits on his forehead, thus completing the four eyes look. Also, we got Will holding down the booth. Hagwood.
I give all the credit to James.
You guys did a great job. Let me know if you guys were watching on Saturday. I mean, listen, people hung out and watched X-Wing. It seems like it went well, which is great.
I don't know why I was scared to touch your computer, the stuff on your computer, but it's not like I haven't done it before. But new stuff, a new
way to go about it. I think it seemed like it worked pretty well.
That actually worked a lot. Like I said, I was scared to mess around with it because I didn't want to touch too much. But no, it ended up being just fine.
All right. So, today's podcast brought to you by our GSP patrons. If you want to become a patron, you go to patreon.com/Gold Squadron. We send out quarterly gifts, and thank you to everybody who has done it. So today, our title, let's talk about our relationship with X-Wing. Is going to cover, it's going to be a little bit of string of consciousness for me. I have some very loose notes on things that I want to hit. And Will and Marcel, feel free to jump in like literally at any time. Because today, rather than being so much a kind of like a dissemination of information, I want to just have a conversation. I want to have a conversation with you guys. If you're watching live, feel free to be a part of it. Later on YouTube, put them in the comments. And of course, if you're just listening on your favorite podcast app, hit us up on Discord. Give us your thoughts in the respond to GSP section. But I kind of, I feel like I identified four different relationships, kind of levels of relationship that currently exist with X-Wing. Maybe there are more, and maybe we can kind of start there. And I want to start by listing them. I kind of put like X-Wing acquaintance. And an X-Wing acquaintance I kind of see as somebody who's just like very casually plays the game. Maybe they play once in a while. Maybe they haven't played for a while, but they still watch. Not necessarily playing every day. Not necessarily going out to a game store. But they're kind of like they're around once in a while. And then there's the hobbyist, or I've kind of grouped the escapists in the same thing because I feel like it ends up being very similar. So the hobbyist is the person who just like it is something that they do, right? When they want their time to kind of focus on something that isn't work, isn't necessarily family. It is, like this is just my side thing that I do. Then you got the X-Wing lifestyle people, right? And, these are they're at League Night every week. They're at, they're just really consistent in their involvement, whatever that might be, in the X-Wing community. And then you got like X-Wing jobbers, which essentially is like us, like this type of deep involvement. Like it is like if somebody told me to describe, like make a collage of my life or of my, like right now, like X-Wing would be a prominent part of that section. So, I mean, are there any other kind of categories that you guys can think of?
No, that's pretty conclusive.
What do you think, Marcel?
I mean, there's levels to all of these. Like I would say there's like a scale of 1 to 10 on each one of the 4 categories that you put. So, but yeah, it's like a grading scale, not a grading scale, but it's a scale, right? So it's a linear scale, I think, and it's you've got you said you bulked us three into jobbers, right?
Right.
But me jobber versus you jobber
Yeah, that's
is
yeah.
is it's like night and day, like I show up 5 minutes late and it's like, hey, where's the food, you know, and yeah, so it's like a different level. Same thing with casual and acquaintance. You've got people that just buy it and play with 1 or 2 people at home, or you got people that buy it and maybe go play at the store maybe once a month or once every couple months. So there's still, but even that's like you're playing with strangers versus only the people that you know. So there's levels to each. But yeah, I mean, I think you covered, like, from a category, I think kind of covers it all.
Yeah, there's definitely, and there's some people kind of calling out different ideas, and I think everyone that we've seen there is on the spectrum, right? There's each of those is a spectrum in and of itself, and I wanted to kind of use this as a vehicle to take a second and, like every relationship, we hope to be positive, right? And when we're using relationship, we're not necessarily talking about, like, I'm not saying like romantic relationship. A relationship is the how one interacts with a entity, person, idea, their job. That's what I'm talking about when I say relationship. And I just want to talk about it a little bit. Like, kind of, we spent the last almost 2 years, in all of, and have experienced what COVID-19 did to X-Wing, and we're very slowly kind of crawling out of that. And this is, as a whole, it has affected not only the game, but I feel like as individual players, it has also affected our relationship with the game, and that could be positive, negative. There's lots in bunch of different categories. And I guess I want to talk a little bit about, or just kind of ask you guys what. Let's try to focus my question here. Besides the fact that you couldn't play X-Wing in person during COVID, how did COVID affect / is affecting your relationship with X-Wing?
I can go first. So it definitely has brought, I think, this like online community of like streamers and people playing on like Vassal and tabletop and fly casual. That kind of community, like up into almost like the front of popularity. Obviously, we jumped on board. I think a lot of people have accepted that, but the way it's affected me is that it actually lets me then get in games with a lot more players. I remember, like, I would get on Vassal just to like practice for a tournament or something, right? I was just trying to like feel out a squad, but it was a squad that I was playing in real life, and I planned to play in real life. I never even thought about just like testing like 8 aggressors or whatever their outrageous list would be at the time. But yeah, then with this whole like isolation-ism, staying at home, I think it's attracted more people to these streams, not just players, but like people just interested in the content, because they can't just go down and talk to the people at their local game store, maybe their best friend, or other people that they play games with. They're looking to scratch that itch somewhere else. So for me, I think it's brought a lot of people together. I don't know. I guess I'm mixed on if it's helped out the actual game or not. I think that's probably about the same. But yeah, the online aspect I think has been a huge boon in these. What? How long has it been? Year and a half?
Yeah,
It feels like so much longer.
it does. Yeah. So I think it's been it's been up and down. So obviously, like William said, having the online community and just us, William and I specifically, and you because you're all over the place. We've had probably a little bit different experience because of XTC in particular, but also all the Galaxies events and everything. Since we're involved, and especially like I said in XTC, um, I was, along with Ollie, probably one of the biggest trollers out there, and I was also one of the biggest organizers from the Latin American side and trying to get people involved. So, the circle of people that I talk to and have gotten to know online has expanded, and that's been beautiful. I mean, so I think I've made some people that I consider like real good friends that I've never met in person. As a result of it, we're talking like Pedro Raya from from Brazil, and just other people that I've really made connections with online because of those tournaments and those events. So that's been awesome. Now on the flip side, and some people were saying it in the chat, the local group has definitely suffered because we used to have like a steady 20 people and 20 something people, and everybody was active, and we tried to do like a league, an online league, and it just kind of fizzled out after like one attempt, like one like 2 month attempt or something like that. And while we still stay connected online, it feels like disconnected. You know what I mean? Like just getting up there. Even this past weekend, like when we had the store championship, we had a lot of. Well, we didn't have that many people. We had like 12, 13 people, but really from that core group that was around before COVID, we probably had what, like 4, 5, maybe 6 at the most.
So let's count it up.
Yeah,
So
Al, Brandon, you, me, Kayla, Al, Brandon, you, me,
James,
Kayla, James, and then the rest were. I mean, they're local Chicago people, but they're like 312 Squadron, or they're
right,
Gaming Goat, or like
and
Tobin is from.
Kent. He had recently moved into the area.
Yeah,
right
he
before
recently moved
COVID.
into the area, but he was like maybe like like 2-3 weeks before COVID. So
Yeah.
but and much love to Kent, by the way. He's got a boat, so I got to treat him nice because his boat is parked right outside my place, and he gives me nice little sail rides. So I love you, Kent. But anyway, that whole local playgroup for us suffered a bit. And I know a couple other local squads did as well, like the Fair Games group. I think they stayed way more active than the Gold Squadron group. But even now, like they used to have a steady 12, 15, and now I'm hearing them they're bringing in like 4 to 8 people, and it's hard to stay with that local group, and that's really what drove it home for me and for a lot of people, was having that personal connection to somebody local, and just so that I think suffered, and I'm sure it'll pick back up again, as we have more tournaments and more people figure out that league nights are occurring, and people slowly make it back to the store and start playing again. So that'll pick up. I'm not saying that it's permanent harm, but definitely for a while it's gonna be a minute till it picks back up. But it was an amazing feeling to go back to the store and start like playing again and seeing like Johnny Randazzo and like all the other locals that are around, and just it was like seeing like an old friend that you haven't seen in a couple of years. Like well, actually that's literally what it was, like seeing friends you haven't seen in a couple of years, and is pretty awesome. And I think our experience is probably a little bit different because we actually maintain that. We Pastimes is probably one of the last stores that opened up for games.
Yeah.
But the other stores had opened up months earlier, so our experience is probably even more because we just barely opened up like a month ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's been four league nights total. Yeah, it's been weird for me personally. I mean, obviously, I did a lot of work to try to keep the X-Wing community as active as possible during COVID, and which I'll be completely honest. Like I was this weekend of playing. And Marcel, at first I'll be completely honest. When you signed me up for the tournament, I was a little upset. I was like, I don't have time for this. This is not going to work.
You can't stay upset at me. Come on.
I know. And then I played the game, and all those feelings went away. I mean, it helped that I won, but in all jokes aside, like I really needed this weekend to recharge my personal X-Wing battery. Like I needed last Wednesday night when I was able to go into the game store and play a couple of games. Like one of the things that happened, and like my relationship with X-Wing changed big time during the pandemic, because really what ended up happening is I became more, I was focusing on organizing and making sure to keep people active, but I personally wasn't playing, like, because the reality was that during the streams, and this is just like having a real moment, right? It's like, even if I'm playing a game on stream and like talking about it and through it, it's not the same as just playing a game, right? It's different. It's a different experience. So like I can imagine for people, like I was active in X-Wing because like that was part of my goal, was to keep people playing. But I can imagine people who, for their health and safety, plus like just like either not being comfortable with Tabletop Simulator or something, the people who just went cold turkey, just like boom, no more X-Wing for a year and a half. I could very easily see how, we have quite a few people in the chat talking about, the friends who, or the people who are just like not there anymore. Right. It's really interesting to see, when people say like, oh, we had a group of X, we said like, hey, we used to have 8 people. I saw somebody say, so now we're down to 2 or 3. But if the game, if you get out of the habit of X-winging, I think it's really easy for it to get replaced with either something else or I mean, it's generally what's happening. That time that you invested into X-Wing is now going into other things. One of the stats I came across, I think I was watching the YouTube channel Linus Tech Tips, if anybody's familiar with it. But they were talking about like video game sales during the pandemic, and of course, like people are inside, just skyrocketed. Right? Absolutely skyrocketed. And there are some people who are like, hey, I like X-Wing enough to play it on Tabletop Simulator. But then you got others like, hey, I would prefer to play, if I'm going to play games on the computer, I'm going to play X, Y, and Z, whatever those things might be. And it's, I don't know, this goes back to why I wanted to talk a little bit about X-Wing relationship. And when we wonder what happened to people, or where where they go? Why aren't they playing X-Wing? Generally, it's because their relationship with X-Wing changed, right? Like that's in this year and a half that we've been in, it's the relationship has changed, and then that doesn't even include like major life changes that may have happened for people. Like, we have a local in our group, right, that we haven't really heard from after they had another baby. Love them, but they just their life, their time as of right now hasn't been enough for them to engage as much as they would have in the past. There are some just realistic life things that happen along the way, and I don't even know why we're talking about this today. I just something I think that is important to say.
Because you put it on the show notes.
Because I did. That is why we're hitting it for sure. And I guess I want to now kind of take this idea of relationship with X-Wing and kind of ask why. Why in the first place do people enjoy X-Wing? And there is a bunch of reasons, and I want let's pull at some of these strings. Will, I'll hit you first. Like, we'll ask for you. Like, what about it pulled you in?
The game itself. Is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about just
anything? When I say X-Wing, I am talking about
everything?
All of it, the entirety of the Venn diagram. Any part of it.
As far as the game side, definitely like, man, those moments when you just the natties hit and you're just like that's crazy. Those 0.01 chances where it's like that actually happened. I got to witness it. It's just crazy to me. Every time I get to set a dial on a ship, I'm just like, oh man, they are not gonna expect this maneuver. It's just makes me, I don't know, giddy, anxious, maybe inside. I'm just like, when your opponent's like, oh man, well, you could hard 3 or you could K-turn, and you just had to straight face like, yeah, I have both options, correct. Like, and you had to just give no hint of what you're doing. And that's really enjoyable for me. It gives like almost like poker-esque play to it, right? Where there's a game outside of just like, how many mods do you have, right? But as far as like the lifestyle, like, because I could probably find that in other games, right? Like poker, chess, I could find that same experience in other games, more traditional games. But that's what keeps me in X-Wing is the community. Like, I've heard the horror stories from like video game players, like all that. Like, I don't even know, but like everything I've heard about like other MMOs, other games where you interact with other players, right? Just these horror stories of like griefing and trolling and all that stuff. And to me, it's almost non-existent in X-Wing. Like, everybody's trying to learn, practice, like especially online. When I'm getting, I got a cough. Hold on. I didn't get a drink of water. Just that kind of like learning aspect. Like, very few people in X-Wing are like out to like make their opponents mad, or just crush them with infinite stress. The community most of the time is helpful in trying to learn and trying to like organize and get more people into the game, which is, like I said, I just don't think that you find that in a competitive environment. In like most video games or a lot. I mean, I guess in-person sports, right? Like your volleyball leagues, your I don't even know what people are playing anymore. Baseball, I guess. Like there's probably some camaraderie there between teams, of course, but it's that kind of like individual aspect of it, being able to actually like just have a nice conversation with somebody. Like, yeah, we're playing like a ruthless game of X-Wing where I'll pull out all the stops to win. I mean, like in my maneuvers and whatnot. But at the same time, like I'm still trying to like laugh and have fun, which is, like I said, I don't get it from other games that I play online. Like, man, long are the days of playing shooters and having people scream in my ear about how we're not taking B or whatever. And it's just like I don't want to play with that. Like honestly, just like making friends, like people who I was like, oh, you know what? I do remember you. Yeah, you're the guy who with the Falcon list or whatever. And I was like, oh well, like that's comforting to me. Like now, I know that we're gonna have another good game of X-Wing, and I think it happens like way more in person. Like you get like rivals and like nemesises. Nick Tobin was like, or I think I was Nick Tobin's Gary, who would just like show up in the cut and take him out for like the first probably like I don't know 4 or 5 times we met or so. Like that's really interesting to me to start building these relationships with other players, and it's not just it's not negative. It's like very positive and fun. Nick Tobin beats me all the time now. I don't think I've won against him in years, but like to build on those kind of friendships and relationships, and then have them kind of spawn into really just like meaningful things. Like even all you guys online, like I know your names. Like obviously Isophane. Like we've hung out with him very few times, but he's very near and dear to our heart, and that's how I think it ends up being with a lot of these people that you have interactions with.
What about you, Marcel?
All right. So the question
why
was
X-Wing?
Why X-Wing? That's a loaded question.
Oh yeah.
Somebody, it's changed over time because at first why X-Wing was because it was a strategy. It was a mind game. It was like ultra competitive. Like I am ultra competitive. I don't think that's a secret to anyone. And the just like sitting there and looking at somebody, and I love poker as well. I know, William, you mentioned poker a little bit. You can get your kicks out of poker the same way, things like that. And I love chess. I love poker. I love a lot of the strategy and tactical games. And this was a good way to put it all together. And it was a puzzle, and it was something that was natural to me. Like it combined a lot of the things that I already do. And I mean, I think, one of the, like this weekend, just playing against Dion and just watching Dion go like, don't look at my face, don't look at my face. Because I'm asking him, I'm going through my mind like, well, you could go here and do this, and I'm just trying to see what when he gives his tell.
If I could play X-Wing with the ski mask and sunglasses against you, I would.
But like you get to take a lot of elements from a lot of different things. So that's originally what got me into it, and then starting to play, and I had some early success. I think I won a store championship like the second time I went to one. But also at the same time, I got beat some of those times pretty early, pretty badly. I think Ron was one of the first ones that beat me consistently early on. And that kind of just edged that competitive drive. Like, wait, why did I lose? I'm not supposed to lose. Like, what's wrong here? And then just trying to get more into that. So originally it was very much about the game and very much about the competition, and it really didn't become so much about the community for me, to be honest, until after I won Gen Con. And then I started just like getting more involved after that point, and then it became more about the community. I mean, I was going to league nights and I was doing all the other things, but I was doing so more of like trying to improve my craft,
Right.
you know. And I was making friends along the way, of course, but I was there for a purpose. I'm like, no, I'm gonna win. I'm coming to win. And then it evolved into being more part of the community. And then as time has gone by, I don't think I'll ever not be competitive, even if whatever it is. It's like I'm always going to have that drive. It's just kind of built in. But the community has become like the main reason for playing now. Like I'll still you know I'll still have as much fun. That's a lie. I'm not gonna have as much fun losing. I'll still show up even if I'm losing. Like I'll still show up and I'll still have a good time even if I'm losing. I'll have more fun if I'm winning, but I'll still have fun if I'm losing. But but the community definitely is one of the reasons why not only did I stick around, but why I got so involved, and I'm doing the podcast, and then just joining XTC and doing not just this time, but a couple years ago joining XTC, and just being more involved, being more vocal and more active in the different groups, is because just building that network of people that you get along with. And some people are acquaintances, but some people you make really really meaningful friendships, I think. And then this was what I was going to get on my soapbox about a little bit earlier. Is I don't know if you guys follow like some of the UK groups and stuff like that as well. But
Sometimes.
for example, Liam Baker earlier today, well, it was yesterday, for whatever, earlier, did like this really long thread about basically like what X-wing means for him, and how his evolution has gone through like the X-wing world, from kind of just showing up every once in a while to becoming um you know better at the game, and then eventually like becoming just better known in the game. Like he was doing the spicy roundup with Ali and stuff like that, and how it is an escape, for like mental, like in certain situations, is like whether just mental health things, whether it's stress, depression, loneliness, especially in COVID, like isolation. And it's an escape, even if it's online and with the community on Facebook and things like that. It's an escape, and it like it gives you something to take your mind off other stuff. And and I was gonna say this because I was gonna mention it, because I actually mentioned it earlier to somebody that I had never mentioned it about, and I don't think you guys ever knew about it. But I actually struggle with hypochondriac. I don't know if you guys are familiar with hypochondriac, but it's actually when you live in constant fear of illnesses that you don't really have. So if you see a little bump, your mind automatically goes to like worst case scenario. And it's kind of, at times it can be controlled, and some people have it at different extents, but it can be like super debilitating, because if you have something just like depression or anything else, right here everything looks normal, from here forward everything looks normal, you can still function, you can still do everything else. But then, like, in the back of the mind, what's going on is, it's, oh my god, what's that, oh my god, what's, like, oh, what's that, like, you go to the doctor, go get it checked out, is this and this, and everything's cancer, like it can be, like, it can be encompassing, but when I'm playing games, like it completely goes away. Like literally, even if I'm, because it's like anything else, it comes and goes in waves, right? Sometimes it comes, sometimes it goes, and there's waves. And I just got off one of those waves recently, like within the last week. Like you guys would probably have never known, but like I just got off one of those, down waves, and I was thinking to myself, like, I was thinking about it more in the concept of, we go um, online, and right now, especially Facebook, is like a it's like a cesspool of toxicity, right? Like,
I,
and we all
yeah.
contribute to it.
I
It
deleted
is.
Facebook off my phone a few weeks ago. I only do it
Mm.
on my computer now for X-Wing because of that reason exactly.
Yeah, it's just, and I even today I was like in their internet fighting with people, not on X-Wing groups, but just like internet fighting with people, and I'm like, why? Um, and and then it brought me back to like that Fly Better, all those recent like Fly Better like moderation threads, everybody getting banned and like be nice and stuff like that. Um, and just thinking like I was trying to think like yeah, like you never know what people are going through. You never know what and I troll a lot. I do troll a lot, but I typically on next one groups, my trolling is usually in humor, but it's never really insulting. But that doesn't mean people may not get insulted. Like the intent is never there to insult, but you never know. People get insulted by different things. But yeah, you never know what people are going through, and not only do you never know what people are going through, either physically, mentally, financially, family, maybe going through a divorce, whatever. And and X-Wing is that escape for so many people. And when you go online and interact with basically the people that are part of your escape, if that becomes toxic, then that's the easiest way to lose people from the community, because they're going there for that for that escape. And not only that, especially I think more so than Facebook, because Facebook you can turn it off, but more so in tournaments online and in person. So when you're playing and you start complaining about your dice, you start complaining about a rule, you start basically being a jerk, because you're losing, or because things didn't go your way, or the ruling didn't work out the way you want. um like, one, you're not going to have a good time because you're complaining about it, but then you're taking away the escape from the other person as well. Like, they're there to have fun, they're there to enjoy themselves. So just kind of like chill. And we're all human. Like we all have those moments where we get upset, right? Like, I've had them. um but it's important to be nice, be kind, be respectful. But in the moments that humanity comes out and you are, you get upset and you become a jerk, own it and apologize. I don't think I've ever been a jerk to someone that I didn't reach out and say, hey, I know I was complaining about this, or I know I called the judge and I was being kind of a jerk. Hey, I want to own it. I apologize. I'm sorry. You know, and then usually, we'll work it out. We'll fist bump it or whatever. But try to restore that, because if you leave it, if you're a jerk and you leave it as a jerk, that's gonna, you know that person is gonna carry that to the next game. Now in the next game, it's like a snowball, like then the next game he's gonna be kind of upset, like, and then you guys are familiar with Kevin and Hobbes, the cartoon? Not the cartoon, but like the comic book.
Calvin and Hobbes, yeah.
Yeah, Kevin and Hobbes. One of the things that was really hilarious but really true is Calvin. He was sitting at a bus stop, right, waiting for the bus ride, and then Susie comes over. Was it Susie? Whatever. The little girl comes over, and she's like, "Hey, good morning, Calvin. How you doing?" And Calvin is like sitting there with like the angriest frown, and sitting like that. And she comes in like full of roses, just like, hey, how you doing? Good morning. You know, you ready for school today? And he just says something super rude to her, like, blah, blah, blah. And then in the next block, you see her, she's like sitting there like angry, and he's got like an evil smile. And it says, nothing helps a bad mood like spreading it around. But that's really what's going on when you're being a jerk in X-Wing. Like you're spreading it around. Like once if you're being a jerk and the next person gets impacted by it, and the next game that person's probably not going to have the same energy and is going to be probably complaining about you. He's like, oh, the last guy I played was a complete jerk, and blah 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 blah. Now that sets the tone of the next game. In a negative tone, not like, hey, how you doing? You having a great time? You know, you doing good? How's your games been? So that's why I said, like, even in those moments where you kind of lose it, if you're that kind of person and you do something that you wouldn't want to do or have said to you, make sure you nip it in the bud right away. You own it. You apologize, and you let the next person move on to the next game. Like with like clean slate. So it's not about you. It's about making sure that the other person goes to the next game in a clean slate, because again, this is an escape for so many people. Anyway, that was the soapbox that I was on earlier today. That I was telling you I was gonna have like a little bit of a soapbox moment about basically be kind, be gentle, be respectful, because you never know what people are dealing with. And it kind of triggered by Liam's post, but there's other people that have posted about, you know, things that they're struggling with and how X-Wing has helped them got them through. And the reason I shared about mine is because, you know, you might never know, because it might be people that you see every week, and you never know like what's actually going on. So it's one of those things that you never know. So just be nice to people, because you never know what else they're dealing with outside of the game.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, essentially, in our notes right there, you guys hit what I think is the two biggest reasons why X-Wing. Well, love of the game and love of the people, right? Like those are the two reasons why we've done this. And one of the things I look at the online community and versus the in-person current community versus what it was, and you know, with how sudden things just stopped. Like, all right, no, we're just done for a long time, and then, you know, with the changing to AMG and all that, the people in general seem to be pretty habitual. And this is one of the other ones, is you likely had somebody in your group that they did X-Wing. It kind of became a part of their habit. Like, it's just something that they did. Even if they were the person that maybe they weren't the best player, maybe they didn't love the game as much as you did, but it was just something they did, right? It's like, you know, you probably know somebody that is just, they are very routine driven. The X-Wing was part of their routine, and getting that disrupted, you may know of somebody in your group that applies to. But Marcel, yeah, that's a great. I love a lot of the things you said there, because I mean that's 100%. As you know, one of the things that I've prided ourselves on this channel is that we try really, really hard to keep it family friendly, but not just that, but really actively try to stay on the lighter side. Try to stay positive, encouraging, never, you know, trying not to tear people down. You know, we can say that a list is bad, but we're never going to say that a person is bad, right? We're not going to say that, you know, that's not something we do here. And, you know, just to kind of bring back the reason why I brought this conversation up, you know, this idea of our relationship with X-Wing is with some states opening up, some countries slowly opening up, X-Wing slowly becoming active. I kind of reflected on my first day back at League Night, my very first one, and there was the feel like as if we had been at League Night the week before and nothing had ever changed. Like it was normal. But at the same time, after reflecting on it, like on the drive home, having this kind of thought of saying like it was not different at all, yet at the same time completely different, because we've all had this year and a half of experiences that have shaped the way that we look and feel about X-Wing. All right, I mean, let's look at a practical one. It took me 25 minutes to get a list together, right, for League Night. And obviously on TTS, I just click a button and it does it for me, right? Like there has to be an active effort to get things ready to play when you're playing in person. And I mean, I don't know about y'all in there, but out there in the world, but like there are just some basic things that you would have not even thought anything of in your life that I know for me, it just takes it now. Some things take effort that used to be effortless. Whether it might just be, I don't know, looking at something in your house, you're like, I really should go do that. And you might have that feeling of, I just don't feel like it. Like it happens. It happens. And, it's just interesting. I know that, the pandemic has affected a lot of people, including myself, mentally. Whether it be, motivation, whether it be happiness, loneliness, there's so many things. But I think if we focus on the love of the game and the love of the people, that's what's going to push us through. Because when I played X-Wing this weekend, it was being able to just hang out with you guys, to be able to play and have the ups and downs that are in a game. Marcel, you were talking about it, right? That moment of when you're playing the game, nothing else matters except what's happening in that moment.
There was one moment this weekend that was really memorable to everyone in the store, and we probably don't even know that it was memorable to everyone in the store. It was when you and me played, and you landed, like I bumped, I didn't bump, but I landed dash like in the middle of 3 arcs, including a bullseye on ZZ's Proton rocket.
Mm-hmm.
Sad day. And then you landed a crit, and it ended up being stun pilot, and it was like the first round of fire.
Right.
And I guess you and I were like commentating and yelling at the top of our lungs the entire time because Kayla said like I don't know if you guys noticed, but you guys were yelling like the whole store was looking like you guys were yelling at the top of your lungs because we're sitting there like, oh my god, I parked it in the middle, oh my god, stop, yeah. And we were just, but in the moment, like I didn't know we were yelling. I thought I thought we were just having a game, and we were. But that's the whole thing. It was like everything outside of you, me, and that little square box didn't exist. It was like we were just playing a game, and everything didn't exist. And next thing you know, I guess we were yelling at the top of our lungs. I don't know if William probably heard us yelling. I don't know. No,
I didn't have the table mic up, but it sounds very memorable. Yeah.
Well, I know you sounds better. He took a picture and sent to you on,
I remember it.
on Discord. Hey, William, look what I did.
We talked about it on the stream. I'm just like, this just in breaking news. Marcel's getting wrecked.
I proceeded to lose that game, but that's besides the point.
Wait.
I admitted it. I lost. Okay, I lost. I shouldn't have. I thought one ship was enough to chase down Dash with 1 health. That was a lie. And yeah, so my experience this weekend, even though I've been active in X-Wing, was a revitalizing experience for me. And we had 2 players there. I'll talk about one specifically. We had one player there. His name, if I'm remembering, where's my phone? I think his name was Matt. Let me double check. I told him that I would probably talk about him on the podcast. Yes, Matt. Let's talk to Matt. And there's also there's a group of people who and let me preface this by saying I don't think it's a bad thing. There's a group of people out there that I think we need to reach out to, and you probably know of what I'm going to call your in-person X-Wing purists. Is what I'm going to call them. Again, not a bad thing, but the when I was talking to Matt about it, he said, I try, like, I download tabletop, and like I tried to play a game, but I didn't quite understand how everything worked, and I just didn't try again. I just really prefer it in person. Like that's about the line I've heard from some people, and I get it. And we probably have some people in the chat who that same way. They're like, yeah, I just don't play online X-Wing. And I get it. 100% get it. And I think that, if you could get in contact with those people again, if your local area is playing, I think you should try to reach out to them. I really do. And while I would never hope, while I hope that nothing like COVID-19 and this experience, hopefully this is a once in a lifetime thing, happens again, I think that it emphasizes the importance of like building. If you want your community to survive, it has to be a little bit more than just the folks you play games with. And what I mean by that is, Marcel, you were talking about like we would usually have a group of 20. And I would say, yes, you're right. You're right. But one of the things that we still have, and it's something simple, right? We have the Facebook, the Messenger group with everybody in there. And even though we haven't seen some of those people in person yet, we still have a lot of those people who we haven't seen yet, at least interacting. They're like, hey, yeah, and asking questions, making jokes, still being a part of the friend group. And I think
Jeremy,
Jeremy,
is still bad. Yeah, boo boo. Goo. I'm sorry, Goo, not boo boo.
Goo, yeah.
Goo, no Goo, no. Goo, no good no more.
And I there's nothing we can do about the past, but I'm sure that there were likely some people that you've played with that you probably never talked to them outside of the game store. And I would encourage you guys to really. This is going to sound really dumb and childish, but I understand that as an adult, it can be weird to make friends. To be like, hi, I want to be your friend. Right? Like that's not how this works as adults, but trying to trying to bridge that connection past just like, hey, see you next Wednesday. Something as simple as making a group for your, a Facebook Messenger group, or a Discord just for your people where you guys talk, exchanging phone numbers, things of this sort that connect you in a way where you can talk about, even if your conversation is just about X-Wing, and you don't have to get super deep with it, but I think what has made it so that we actually have a group to come back to, Marcel, is the fact that we have had that what is listed as the Gold Squadron local messenger chat, because there has been a way to communicate with each other. Because if that didn't exist, I think the group would be done. I don't think we would be back playing with each other. It would have fizzled out. And I think that love of the game and the love of the people need to be as tightly intertwined as possible in order to continue seeing X-Wing succeed. And now, in our current world right now, I know that there's people who aren't comfortable yet playing in person. That's okay, but that doesn't mean you can't keep a connection. And something my mom, I've heard her say a lot, when she's talked about her, as friends drift apart, and this spawned out of a conversation. She was writing Christmas cards to people, right? And I see her writing these names, like these people we hadn't seen in years. And I'm like, and having, me being a dumb teenager and asking like why are you doing a Christmas card for Lourdes? You haven't talked to her in 10 years. She goes, communication goes two ways. I know that I'm the only person reaching out right now, but every time is an opportunity for them to reach back. And that's something that's always stuck with me, is, even if there's that guy, that player, that might not be responding, but if they're reachable, that message from you, that email message, the smoke signal, whatever it is that you send them, sometimes, even if they're not responding, that could be a positive experience for them in the game. But to finish off that tangent, the last thing I want to talk about is kind of what are let's make an X-Wing 5-year plan. Okay, let's go a little big here. All right, Marcel, big eyes, Will, big eyes. Hear me out here. I'm hoping, we all hope that X-Wing is going to continue, right? What are some of the things you want to see for the community or the game as a whole? What are some of the positive change and things that you want to see happen over the next few years? And they could be obvious things, but I think they can be said.
Well, we would like to see
what positive change would you like to see over the next, I'll say few, to not make it seem as daunting, next few years?
For starters, I think the foremost one for me is a competitive circuit, a linked competitive circuit. So I'm not talking about disjointed or disconnected. You have a system open here, or not even a system, where you have Adepticon, you have Gen Con, you have Nova, you have LVO. You have all these events, and each one of these events is a tournament. I would love to see a well thought out and linked, connected journey towards a finale, like an annual story, the way I think FFG was getting better and better at it, and they were getting better and better, and their price support to support that was getting better and better. We looked at that store championship kit this weekend, like that. Like Wade did some amazing work with that one. Like those were the best store kits we've ever had. So that's one thing that I would love to see. Something else that I would also love to see is a an organized and a consolidated and organized way for those tournaments to be recorded, so that there is a progression chart for for basically, okay, which people played in the most tournaments, what was the average ranking of each player, what was the media, and just get a bunch of, we are data, but like real like official data that is truly reported for official events. Like all the official events be recorded. Let there be like just more things. Again, I'm the competitive person here, so more things on the competitive side, like ranking people, like a ranking for the last 6 months, the ranking for the last year, and obviously that ranking is affected by people that can travel more so than others, but that'll also promote people. Basically, that'll promote and that'll give you an opportunity, not an opportunity. That'll promote and that'll give an incentive for those people that travel to go traveling. And even I remember a few years back, maybe like 3 years ago or 4 years ago, you did that, and I think I was there for most of them. You did that like store championship
tour
track tour. Yeah, it was like 20 store championships in like a 3-month period. Like it gives incentive for people to do that, because every time you go, you accumulate that currency, you accumulate that ranking, and you're trying to rank up there. And of course, store championships mean a little bit less, so less points. But if you win 5 store championships, might be equivalent to winning like a larger event and things like that. Because one, competitive, winning, more coins. Me like coins. But outside of that, also it gives incentive for people to show up, which in turn makes more people show up at the event, which in turn makes stores more willing to dedicate time for the game. Because a lot of stores, quite frankly, they make a lot more money selling Magic the Gathering, and they make a lot more money running Magic the Gathering events. And in order for X-Wing to compete with those, because you're taking up larger space, longer time, the games are longer, the volume of space needed is bigger, and the amount of money that we spend is less. So we need to kind of go above and beyond and really show up at when they have events, so that we can give stores, especially stores that are on the fringe, a reason to support X-Wing. So that I would love to have that, like a something that incentivizes you attending as many official events as possible, as a way to support competitiveness, as a way to support local stores, and as a way to support kind of the community getting together and just like everything that we talked about today is mostly 80% about community and just build that more. Anyway, I mean, there's more things, but that's my thing for now.
What about you, Will?
I can't put it into words. I think maybe you guys could help me out with it. That in the last year, I'm looking mostly at like we're doing different online events, but mostly it was XTC, where there was maybe not disconnect. Like I said, I'm struggling to find the words, but essentially that the world groups. Now, I'm not even talking about like your local group, because I think that you could. It's so much. It's so easy, like you said. Like get a group messenger together. Like make a little Facebook page. Like it's not hard to like get like your very local community together. But if I'm thinking like big, like grand, like I would want a place that is just very centralized for all of the communities. Like I'm like I guess a lot of this comes from the XTC, where like I think a lot of us learned about streamers who are normally maybe streaming other languages or at weird times of the day, but like they are out there streaming the X-Wing. There are like local play groups. So we're like Malta, like you got a team together? I was like, I didn't even know you were a country. Like, like that's like it's not like meant to be offensive, but like it surprised me of like how did I not know there was these communities out there? So, like I said, I don't know how or where this kind of place would be, but something to where we could get more of this, like a place for communities to meet up together, right? I know we have like Facebook and stuff, but like it seems, I don't know, not enough, right? That and honestly, we try all the time. Like our Discord's got many international people in it, but it still seems that there's a sort of disconnect between the communities. And like I said, I don't have a great solution for how we would come across it, but I would definitely want that in the next 5 years to have like these countries. Like I said, we were looking at the XCC and everyone's like, oh, Singapore, pff, well, they got one good player, and I was like, nah, fam, like they play X-Wing down there, and that's it was surprising to see. And I think a lot of Europeans were feeling the same way. I was just like, Peru, like psh, they ain't never played in any of our tournaments, and I was like, no, they are good. They play all the time. Like, and like without events like that, these communities would never overlap. Mm-hmm. So I would want in the upcoming years more of these bigger events, more what do I want to say, like publicized, to get these communities and the people who are helping run them together and out in the public, right? Like, I'm trying to think, like, I know you guys have a couple, I think it was Jeremy for a while. Like, I know you guys have a couple local players that, like, man, if they would just play in a bigger tournament, like, they could really show the world their skills. But they just, like, don't. So, like, I don't know, to get, like, these kind of, I don't know how to describe them, but like not exactly bench warmers, because that's not what I'm trying to say, but like people who just like don't compete, right? To get them their recognition out into the kind of the greater public. And maybe I could just put it on AMG, like they have the rules forum. RIP to the FFG forums, but like that was one of the few places where like people from all communities would join together. So maybe AMG can open it up. Maybe we ourselves have to try harder, but I think getting, like I said, that integration between these international communities and even just like local communities. Like, I don't know what Western Iowa is doing. Do you guys know what Southern Illinois is doing?
No idea.
No idea. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, if it's not in like that sphere you guys are talking about, the people that you talk to on the regular, it just seems to just get lost. So something to try to bring more of us together, or at least maybe not even us, but like our communities together would be the absolute goal in the next coming years.
I like that. I like that a lot. For myself, I'm gonna focus my time talking a little bit about AMG, because I think, you know, Marcel, you're talking about a competitive circuit, and there is a rather high population of players who how do I want to say it? There was a high population of players that essentially have this mindset that if it's not official, it doesn't matter. And that's a very simplified way to put it. But I think that we've hit on it a couple times before, is from the competitive, the focus on the competitive will generally result in a continuation, like it just keeps rolling out the excitement about the game. Because if competitive players are excited about it, there's conversation, then there's people talking about what the competitive players are doing and trying it and experimenting, and that's what kind of keeps the pool going, the excitement continuing. So I'm hoping that in the next 5 years, first, the license needs to be renewed. Like, that's a real thing. I think it's up in 23 is when it's for 2023. We know that we are getting Mando, and then AMG's got to work on their stuff, like what they need to develop. That's going to take about a year. So we'll probably not get AMG X-Wing stuff until second, at the earliest, third quarter 2022 is likely where we're going to be at. And with shipping and how things are right now, maybe fourth quarter. So, I mean, we have AMG essentially gets one big swing at the bat to see what are they going to do with X-Wing. Because essentially, it's not – production timelines are production timelines. They are what they are. But the reality is that, AMG X-Wing is a business, right? Like they need to make they got to make their bag, they got to make their money, and there's going to be a lull. Like we have already gone through one, but there's at least been content coming out, the stuff that FFG was working on. We have a huge gap. We have a huge gap of where it's just X-Wing stuff wasn't being developed. And the question is, how can the I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but can there be enough people excited about X-Wing and stay interested in X-Wing until we get that next infusion of AMG product? And then what is that going to be? And how are they going to help X-Wing? Like what is it they're going to do? And I think what would build excitement in that time is what you talked about, Marcel, is are they going to present some type of competitive circuit when it comes to 2022? And I think the key to keeping that excitement is what you said, Will, is trying to keep people as connected as possible. So, our relationship with X-Wing, I think the conclusion of today's talk is that, like, especially if you're still listening to this, it's important to you in some way, right? Like it is a part of your life in some way, and I'm hoping that that X-Wing continues to be a positive experience for every person who listens to this podcast, every person who plays X-Wing, even if they don't listen to Gold Squadron, because those positive experiences are going to be the things that continue to perpetuate the game. to continue to keep people excited, to bring people in. It's only the fact that it's Star Wars and people think like, oh, that's cool, Star Wars stuff will only go so far. You do need people to be excited about the game. You need that excited player base. And, you know, I do think the success of Star Wars in general will affect the overall popularity of X-Wing. I mean, this is in the Wayback Machine. The biggest hype I've ever seen around X-Wing was right before The Force Awakens was being released. Like that was and after, like there was a massive boom of people excited to play X-Wing. Unfortunately, that coincided with a lot of the releases of the unfortunate things that kind of required a second edition. But you know, we don't know what's the next big Star Wars thing that's going to make people as excited as that, which I don't know if we'll ever have that same excitement, because it was so much time between the release of episode 3 and then all these years going into 7. But I don't know. Maybe it's Rogue Squadron. Rogue Squadron seems like an easy one to get people excited about ships, but you know, that's going to take some strategy on AMG's part to try to integrate with that release, because I doubt that Lucasfilm is going to actually give them an in, but you got to prepare for it. You got to have something ready.
I've got this problem. Every time I hear Rogue Squadron, my mind just starts going into an infinite loop of the Top Gun song. For some reason, it's just, and I'm not gonna do it because I don't want to copyright strike you, and plus I'll mess it up. But yeah, I constantly just Tom Cruise going, yeah, and then like the ongoing song, like I don't know, just can't shake it off. So thanks for putting that in my head.
You're
Appreciate
welcome. Well, now you've infected other people's minds too just by bringing it up. So that's really now more your fault than it is mine. But we'll leave that alone. And yeah, I mean, I've been thinking a lot about X-Wing and my relationship with X-Wing, which is what spurred on this conversation. And by the way, I don't want you guys to think like, oh my God, Dion's planning on quitting X-Wing. That's not what this conversation's about. But I expressed last week on the podcast this idea that like I miss playing. Like I miss being an X-Wing player. Like I love being a content creator. I love being, for what a lot of people have said, you're like, oh, Dion, like you to me are like the voice of X-Wing, which is, to me, that sounds ridiculous. Like that seems odd to me, but like, you know, it's X-Wing's important to me, and I hope to see it continue to thrive. But I think it's important that if whatever is important in your life, I think it's important to reflect on it, and you know, if you want to continue to foster the love for anything, you have to reflect and decide what is it that you're going to do to actively nurture that love. And right now, for me, I've identified like I need to play more X-Wing, because I have like I don't feel as comfortable as an X-Wing player as I was, you know, before I really went hardcore into X-Wing content producing. But I know like that is something I also really enjoy doing. So it's there's a lot to think about there. But thank you for letting me have this conversation. Will, any closing thoughts?
I don't know. I think we've, as far as my opinion on X-Wing, I think we've made it over the hump, I hope. Like it was some dark times in X-Wing. I think that in almost pretty much everybody's life with their experiences, and I'm glad that the people who stayed, myself included, found something to keep going back to be able to, whatever it's friends, the gameplay, just having that, like, one of the things you were talking about was like habit, just having that habit of like, all right, Monday we get to talk, like Wednesday we get to play, you know, maybe it's your local game group that you just keep going back to, and like having that consistency in a pretty chaotic world is worth coming back to. So here's for so many more years. And I'm just saying.
He's trying to give a heartfelt talk here, Marcel. You're over here dancing.
You don't lose it. Don't lose it. Come on.
I lost it.
Stay with me. Stay with me, pal.
All I see is this, and now whatever.
It's just, I can't get out the danger zone. I'm sorry.
No, all I see is Gundam style, so, you know, whatever. Same thing, right? Same thing.
Well, you know, let's. Hopefully, you've enjoyed this talk. I know this for some people. I don't want it to be a downer. And I know it's not our usual content. Next week, we'll be breaking down Scarif. By the way, next weekend, Scarif Galactic Championship Qualifier. If you're going to play in it, get signed up ASAP. And if you bought a ticket, make sure you fill out your stuff. But yeah.
What time is it? Central Time?
Well, let's.
Well, you got to wake up for it, so you should know.
Oh, good. I have
+2, is that right?
I have a time zone calculator on the website. If you go to Galaxies, and then you go to Schedule, and then scroll down to Scarif. Here, we'll go ahead and...
Well, we start every event at 9 a.m. local
9
time,
a.m.
right?
Berlin time. So I just clicked on that. I just type in Chicago. 2 a.m. We start at 2 a.m. Central Time for the player meeting. 3 a.m. rolling dice. All right. But yeah. So it's yeah. No, I won't play in Galaxies because I am TOing those events. But yeah, like as things become safer to meet and we can kind of start gauging things, like I want to continue supporting you as players, to continue building your communities, to make you excited. I don't know when AMG kits are going to be around, but even if they're not going to be around, I'm not right now. I'm going to try to do it over winter break, but I'm trying to develop a way to get local TOs some type of OP kits where it's, you know, it might be using older stuff that we had here, you know, in Gold Squadron, but hey, you know what? You could, if you have players who don't have that stuff, maybe we dole it out. But I got a bunch of different ideas for things that we can do in the future, and you know, would love, hopefully sometime in 2022, to host an event here in Chicago and see as many of you guys here, you know, as safety allows. And just get that feel back, because man, it always felt great just seeing a sea of X-Wing players playing and just the feel that it creates.
Yeah, the feel the need for speed. All
right, we're done. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you have an Alderaan invite, make sure that you get it all filled out. If you didn't get my email, let me know, because reportedly people haven't gotten my emails, like Marcel Manzano. So I will resend it if need be. Thanks for watching, everybody. And take care of yourself. Gold Squadron out.